Hi, and welcome to Logic.io Customer Testimonials.
Let's take a listen to Jonathan Ulrich, CEO of Ulrich Lifestyle Structures, to discuss how he's created a self-service sales process that has increased assisted sales productivity.
We are here with Jonathan Ulrich from Ulrich Lifestyle Structures. Jonathan, thank you for joining us here. Jonathan, I wanted to start off. Maybe you could just start by telling me a little bit about Ulrich, a little bit how the business got started. I know it's been in the family for quite a bit, so maybe you can just tell me a little bit about the history and kind of where you guys are at now.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a sort of a unique start. My parents from the U.S. had moved to Costa Rica for 21 years as missionaries, which is where next youngest of 11 kids, was born. In '90, we moved back to the U.S. Off to Kentucky, and definitely definitely living in poverty, coming off the mission field. And so my dad started a very simple, basic shed business with a $500 loan from a gentleman at church, and sort of fought for the next 13 years. I think had scaled the business top line. The record keeping is not great, but to around $250,000 in top line revenue. So it was it's a little more than it is today, but still not a lot. Barely put bread on the table. Definitely not every month, but some months. So the business relocated in 2001 to Texas. And there we scaled the business a bit more. My older brother got involved in ownership, and some new energy and a fresh perspective took the business to about $1 million top line over the next few years. And then I decided, right or wrong, after my first year of high school that I knew what I wanted to do in life, at least for the next season of life. And so I convinced my parents and dropped out of high school and went into sales in the business to about $8 million top line. Then bought out my father along that journey, paying him overtime. Later bought out my brother, and then in 2008 did a few acquisitions, 2 on the shed side of the business, which is what we're talking about here. And scaled the business since then to just under 200 employees, and we're hoping to close on another transaction that'll double us in size, hopefully in the next 30 days here. So very basic beginnings, very meager start, and it's been a grind. When I bought the business, it was upside down financially, and we definitely didn't have any technology. Gosh, we were barely even had a website or online, but we've tried to bring it in the 21st century, and really as a goal to, obviously our overarching goal is to help families live more memorable lives. And we do that with our niche of lifestyle structures, both in backyards and on family ranches. I happen to be sitting at my wife's in one of our products, actually. So enjoying a little getaway this morning, sort of away from the hustle and bustle of life. So that's what we help other families do. And very excited about this partnership. We launched last month, I think, with 3D Configurator. And so it's too early to tell. 1 month is a data point, not a trend, but our unit sales were up. By unit, we were up 600% in the Virginia market, across the board, like 400%. And average ticket's a little bit less just because we've had some price reductions as the lumber markets have stabilized. So we are, I think we were up 300% 290% in dollars, and like 400% in units. And with the 3D, I think definitely was a piece of that. Hard to tell exactly what's allocated to that because we did make some other changes at the same time, unfortunately. But definitely feel it adds to it. Put it this way, Blake, we definitely went from the sales team not having a 3D CPQ tool to not knowing how they would live without it.
Yeah, well, that's amazing to hear. And it's amazing to hear the history of your company and what you've been able to do with the business. And I just love the ties between, the family roots of the business and how you're, creating these memorable experiences for other families with what you guys do. So I love that. And just to double click on what you just said, it's awesome to hear the results that you all are starting to see. Like you said, just a data point, not a trend at this point. But even to take a step back, can you tell me a little bit about kind of what your go-to-market model has been with Ulrich traditionally, and how has that maybe shifted over the last couple of years? And as a follow up to that, kind of what was the genesis, or what was the vision behind, wanting to create this configurable 3D visualized experience for your buyers on your website in the first place?
Yep, perfect. So a few questions in one. I like it. So first of all, our traditional go-to-market strategy is via our online sales, and by that I mean, we have real human salespeople sitting in an office taking online leads. So it's not truly e-commerce, I wouldn't say, but that for sure not without a 3D CPQ tool. It's next to impossible. That together with retail stores, so corporate-owned retail stores. The acquisition we're doing actually brings us into more rural America versus suburbs, large city suburbs, and that is through a dealer brand that we're acquiring. But either way, I think the story is still interesting for a 3D CPQ. We do plan on implementing this same tool in the dealer brand in this acquisition that we're doing. So to answer your question on what's the impact of the last few years, I think people are definitely more open to making large ticket purchases online. I wouldn't say it's moved in our experience 70% or anything like that, but people are just more open to it, right? We have our ranch structure division. We do a lot of lodges and cabins. The particular cabin I'm sitting in is probably retails for around all in about $650. And we have people who come in that our average ticket in that division is $200,000, and we have folks who come in and they do completely everything virtual. I'm a huge believer in the old, a picture's worth 1,000 words, or a 3D CPQ is probably worth 1,000,000 words, right? I mean, it's seeing is believing is the basic principle. Seeing is believing, and so we definitely have folks who now do virtual tours for the cabin. They do virtual factory tours, virtual design sessions, and write a check for $200,000, right? And I'm talking about a 50% deposit up front, and they haven't even touched or felt the product at all. So I think definitely COVID has increased that, and I look forward to seeing the impact that will have. Hopefully, some customers will just choose to self-service checkout online, and we can have a customer service agent reach out and confirm everything. But frankly, the things we used to have customer service reach out on is just to make sure they really understand what they're getting exactly. Now they sort of do. We still have to help them think through access and permitting and HOAs and things like that the 3D CPQ does not help with. But definitely a huge improvement there. My vision is, I think retail brands today, if you look at what happened in the beginning of the pandemic with folks like DoorDash, right? Folks like Instacart, right? Guess who's now opening grocery stores? I mean, look, Instacart's a huge success story, but guess who's now opening grocery stores? Instacart, right? I mean, they're going, we're missing the market. We really need a local grocery store that folks who do want to go pick out their own produce. I mean, I got a bag of avocados the other night. Were terrible, right? It's like, am I really going to go back for $15 to the store and say, Instacart delivered these from you and they were all rotten, literally? Probably not, right? But yet that's a big customer experience and customer service issue. A, I don't have the avocados. B, I don't want to buy from that store again if they're going to ship these with Instacart. So anyways, long story short, I think in today's world, brands truly have to be, it's not, are you online? Like in the early 2000s, we're going to go online, right? I mean, now if you don't have a website, you're done. But on the other hand, if you don't have a store, you're almost done, right? I think it's truly omni-channel. And then our goal is obviously, yes, to have some folks self-service checkout online. However, I think it's just important for a training tool, right? I mean, we used to have to train our sales reps how sort of a shed goes together. And, I know this is an obscure fact here, but, a 9-light traditional residential house door does not fit in a basic shed wall that's 6 foot tall. It's just doesn't fit, physically doesn't fit. And used to, that was our training regiment. We had to teach people our product. And, it's interesting because it did still build confidence in the salesperson. It really didn't get them sales skills, but it got them hard technical skills. And when they were technically with it, they seem to sort of pick up on these other skills. Now we don't have to really train any of that. We just have to train them how to use the configurator. The configurator knows literally the 2,000 rules that exist and what we can do and which zip code and where. And Virginia, this particular height shed we can't deliver. It has to only be an on-site install. And if it's an on-site install, then we don't offer our lease program. We only offer a finance or cash pay program. And so there's just all these rules that come together that now the salesperson, unless they're just curious and want to know why the rule exists, they don't need to know the rule in order for the business to operate. And instead, we can really focus on the soft sales skills, which is really where the 10x difference maker is. So I'll give you an example. We just replaced at our Fort Worth store 2 folks who'd been there with the company for a long time, knew all the technical skills, sort of grew up in the old mentality in the business from the last 5-6 years. Replaced them with 2 junior reps, brand new, almost no training except core values and how to use a configurator and basic, where the bathroom is kind of training, but no technical skills training. And they literally, exceeded last January. So year over year, their sales were up. Trying to put this in a percentage for you. 500%, right? Wow. So wow. Is all of that 3D CPQ? No, probably not, but it's definitely a component of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're saying is really innovative. And I think what we're seeing a lot of innovative companies do, which is, it's about the buyer experience, but it's also about just streamlining experience, like you said, from the experience they get from sales rep to the experience they get with every touch point with your brand. So that's really amazing to hear. Jonathan, this has been great. I have just a couple more questions, and I'll throw kind of another question on the buying side towards you. How do you feel like this experience differentiates you in the market from other folks within your space? And then, as kind of a part 2 to that, what has been the feedback that you've heard from buyers so far interacting with this in a self-service motion? Because I think it is pretty unique and something that's pretty innovative in the space.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, and I don't know if you walked into a little bit of a trap there, but with the question, but I'll explain. We had a basic configurator. Now it wasn't 3D, but it sort of had the illusion of being 3D back in 2012. So we were very, very early in the space to this. It really was just a bunch of pictures in a database that you'd click on a button and it would pull up that photo, right? And looking back, you live life with no regrets, but you do learn from history. We definitely should have kept that. We definitely should have also just went with one of the standard off-the-shelf offerings that are offered in our industry. There's now probably 8 or 10. What's really unique and glad we are where we are today. I would repeat the decision all over, but I would add another decision to it. In other words, I would take a sort of off-the-shelf basic configurator to help our clients. Seeing is believing would have especially been impactful during the pandemic when people were more stuck at home. Our stores were open because we were considered essential since we do home offices and et cetera. But looking back, I wish we'd have done that, but we still would have kept on this journey to bring us where we are today, because unlike there may be one competitor in our industry, there's not another provider or another company, though, that has a fully baked 3D CPQ from front to back, meaning the customer can sit at home in their pajamas with a glass of wine at night and order a shed. Meanwhile, that's manipulating the back end all the way through. Not only is it complying with all the rules so we can have smooth operations, but it's also, offering them the full self-service experience checkout, both a lease program, finance program, and cash program, as well as and full upfront, those types of things. It's very simple, but it's very complex actually in the background. And then that ties into our ERP and our materials resource planning system, so that these sort of gremlins are working in the background to know at 8 o'clock the next morning, a purchasing manager can look and see, oh, based on the orders we saw and the trends that's led to, we're going to need another truckload of OSB at this plant, or whatever those things are. So it truly is integrated front to back. That is unique in the industry. I believe we are best in class and first in space. But like everything in life, we got to keep running hard, because it'll be a matter of time, and that's old news as well. So I'm looking forward to sort of figuring out how we take this to another level. I got a concept. Think Tesla. I got a concept with something like that for the industry that I think the 3D CPQ allows us to go to. So I'm very excited to see not only the return on investment here, for what we're currently doing, but also the new doors this opens up for us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see the new innovations that you all roll out. Jonathan, thank you for chatting with me here. Ulrich Lifestyles, for anyone watching, go check them out. Jonathan, thank you so much. I'll let you go enjoy some time away with the family here.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Blake. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.